Yeah, it's going to be noisier than usual down here because my whole family's home because nobody's working today except me. I am. Okay, let's wait a couple minutes. If you want to, you can uh, do a roll call on IRC just for posterity. Mention where.
What's the IRC channel again? I dropped off and don't remember it.
Oh, it's
It's meeting
OpenStack
42 or something.
meeting alt.
Alt.
Where are these videos saved off so that way a year from now we can come back and watch it again?
If you just go, so Jay uploads them to the Cinder YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
Which,
Perfect.
so yeah, everything's there.
Okay, great.
I haven't looked at them. If you look at them in Blue Jeans, you get some control over like the presentation versus the people, I think. But I don't know what happens when you YouTube it. But yeah, Jay's been really good about, I don't know what he does. He decodes it or something and then uploads it to YouTube. So all our stuff is there.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
That's oh,
We monetize this.
yeah, right. That would okay, I guess we should go ahead and get started. So there's some people, oh, we've got 11 here, and then, okay, yeah, all right, welcome to today's meeting. Today's a short week for people in the USA because most of us have Thursday and Friday off, and some people took today, so I think we'll have a kind of light turnout. Not too much on the agenda, so we can cruise through it kind of quickly. Okay, so just some announcements. The mid-cycle's next week, so there's still plenty of room for topics, so feel free to put them on the Etherpad. I should be also typing this into the channel. All right, we got all right, so it's on Wednesday. It's 1400 to 1600 UTC, and it's right here in Blue Jeans, which I lost the. Okay, so that should be fun and exciting. There was an announcement, I don't know if you've seen it, because it came across the OpenStack like service discuss or something. I don't know if it went to the main. I'm trying to copy up Blue Jeans. What I'm trying to say is there's going to be two-factor auth available. Well, let me put this way. Two-factor auth is currently available for Ubuntu one. Oh yeah, Etherpad link, thanks for the reminder. Well, here we go. Okay. Yeah, so two-factor auth is going to be available, and like my cutting and pasting skills are not. What's going on? Okay. You can read all about it in this email that I'll post a link to. But the TLDR on this is it's optional now. They've instituted a way where you can, I think, add yourself to a group in Launchpad that will put you into this so you can do it. And I think the plan is to eventually make this mandatory sometime either late December or early January. So if you want to get a jump on that so that you're suddenly not, locked out when they switch over, you can take a look at that email and act appropriately. And I imagine they'll make a bigger announcement somewhere at some point, but that's all I know. Okay, there's been a change in the tested yoga runtimes. So just for awareness. And I forget exactly what it is. There's a quick summary on that email that Gman sent out. So they're adding Debian 11 as a tested distro. I think it replaces SUSE. So I think that leaves us with Ubuntu CentOS Stream 9, which is also a change because it was originally 8, and then Debian 11. And then the lowest Python version we're testing is now 3.8, and we're going to be testing 3.9. So that change, I believe, has gone into effect. So we should be seeing 3.9 test. So the template that's, so in Zool.yaml, we specify a template, and then the, I don't know, somebody maintains the template that just sets up all the tests. So now it's going to be testing 3.8 and 3.9 in Yoga by default. I think our tests were okay, but we should probably keep an eye on that. So just something to be aware of. And then I think that's it. So we were 3.6 and 3.8. Now we're 3.8 and 3.9. So just so you're aware. And then Debian's being added as a tested runtime, which I think just means there'll be some jobs specifically run on Debian. Anyway, there's references in that email that I linked to if you want to follow up on that. Okay, next up, the secure RBAC community goal has been revised again. And let me give you a link to the patch. And I would say that it's, now we know what we're doing, except we don't. So there's some discussion. Anyway, it's been broken up into phases that are going to span cycles, and it'll be up to projects to decide for themselves exactly what timeline they will do these phases in, although there are specific releases that everybody's supposed to have completed a phase by. Anyway, the holdup right now is, well, there's a couple of things. There's been some scope creep in this, and the biggest creep has been the addition of a service role that will be created by Keystone at Bootstrap. And then this role will not be in the hierarchy of the other roles, but the idea is that it'll be called service, and the idea is services will be able to write policies to recognize Nova contacting Cinder, for example, because we can look for the service role. And the idea behind that is that currently when most of the time, when services contact each other, they have to use admin credentials if a user token is not sufficient. And of course, admin gives you power over everything, which is way more than anybody needs. So the idea is to have a service role, and then we can have actual service users that are limited in the range of operations in each of the services that they contact. Now, the holdup right now, so anyway, that's all explained in the goal. The holdup is there's some question about how we should order the phases, because Dan Smith, anyway, feels that the service role is a really important thing, and would be good to have, and he wants that earlier than some of the other stuff that's in the goal. So that's, I'm still thinking. I don't know that I've got a really strong opinion about it, except I'd rather finish the RBAC stuff while everybody's kind of clear on what we're doing. And this service thing seems like you could sort of do it independently, although, since all of us have limited bandwidth and dev power, I guess even though you could do things in parallel, you can't if you don't have the people to do it. So that's what's happening now. Hopefully this will get finalized within the next week. It hasn't been proposed for a roll call vote yet because there's a final. People are going through the last draft. Anyway, if you're interested, you can read it. If you have an opinion, please put it on the review. Otherwise, I'll just update you at the mid-cycle next week. I'm hoping by the mid-cycle, it'll be even more clear what exactly is happening and what we'll be doing in Cinder. And I'm hoping to have the specs for, I rewrote the Xena spec to capture what we did. I just need to go over and make sure that's still clear. Well, I'll talk about this at the mid-cycle. Okay, so anyway, so the secure RBAC goal is still under discussion. I guess in the sense that we're definitely, right, it's going to be a goal for OpenStack. It's going to happen. It's just we're getting more clear on what exactly we're doing, which is kind of backwards, but that's how it goes. Okay, final announcement. Spec freeze is coming up on the 17th of December. I sent something to the mailing list to remind people, well, about the deadline, but also that there are opportunities to get their specs, to get live feedback on their specs at this meeting and at the mid-cycle. So hopefully people take advantage of that. If anybody here has a spec and you would like some discussion, or just put a topic on the mid-cycle. It'll be good for awareness anyway. All right, and that's it for announcements. Anybody else notice anything that's going on that people should know about? Okay, let me hit the next topic.
Oh, you could get your tickets booked for Berlin.
I'm sorry?
Get your tickets booked for Berlin.
All right. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you, Simon.
I'm saying get your tickets booked for Berlin.
I think so. Yeah. So actually, Berlin's bad timing for me. So I probably won't go. I haven't heard anything about the PTG yet. There's still. Last I heard from Jay. Jay's sort of our inside person on the TC. They haven't decided what they're going to do about the PTG yet, whether it's going to be held simultaneously or separately or what. So I don't know. If it's held separately, then I imagine people's companies aren't going to be so excited about sending them to the summit. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, yeah, so I don't know about that at the moment.
And is all of that still going to happen regardless of the COVID nonsense going on over there and here?
Well,
and travel restrictions and all that?
That's a very good question. I have no idea. I think it was planned in a simpler time when it looked like the pandemic was getting under control. But yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, but this is no longer a pandemic. This is endemic.
Yeah. I guess that's yeah, I mean, I guess it'll be up to what they decide to do in Germany. Letting people in. I don't know. This summer I couldn't get into Canada, so, and that's just across the river. So who knows? Yeah. Okay. Topic, new drivers for yoga. All right, I guess I need to send something to the mailing list to remind people about this also, but I put together an Etherpad
Hey Brian,
because
is this when you say a new driver, is that a brand new driver for a new backend, or is it even does that even count for a new protocol for an existing driver?
I believe in the past that we've counted like different protocols separately. So an FC driver and an iSCSI driver are considered separate drivers. So they have to have CI. I think the main reason is to make it clear that even if they're sharing code, they've got to have their own CI.
Cool. Okay.
So that's the thing. So yeah, um, the way we track these, which I believe is somewhere in our documentation, but I guess I should mention it in the email also. I request people file a blueprint in Launchpad just so that we know that they're intending to dump a driver on us at the last minute, right before the deadline, and we can kind of take early action. So I've put in the ones that I know about on this link, which I just lost. So it looks like, so we got 3 blueprints filed. The 2U net store, is there anybody here who's working on that one? Problem with the drivers recently is that people working on them have been like completely out of band at Cinder meetings, so it's been kind of hard to track things. So first one on the list, there's a group that I believe is based somewhere in Eastern Europe, possibly Russia, that has a driver that they were talking about contributing to Xena. And then I recently got an email saying that they want to contribute it to Yoga. I asked them to file a blueprint, but I don't believe they have yet. And I always say in these emails, I still have trouble with Launchpad, especially in searching blueprints, because it seems to categorize them differently. I don't know how. So if you are in a position where you're filing a blueprint for a driver, please email me a link so that I can make sure that it's targeted and that we're aware of it. Okay, so anyway, so I don't know. They claim to have code and CI running, but I don't think there's a patch up, and they haven't filed a blueprint yet, so I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. HPE XP storage filed a blueprint. They've got a patch up. HPE storage CI is responding, but it's responding separately for every driver it tests. And I don't believe it's responding for these drivers, but we'll find
And
out.
I'm
So if
looking
anybody,
at the code, and it's really just a wrapper for the
okay,
Hitachi drivers. I mean, there's really no code in it whatsoever.
I guess that's okay. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe it's just a branding thing. They still need to run CI for it if they want to call it a driver, though.
yeah. Hmm.
So, all right. Well, that'll make it easier to review, I guess. The NEC Storage 5 series, they filed a blueprint. The NFS driver for Dell PowerStore, they actually were ready for Xena, and we didn't get it reviewed. I'm not sure if they're, anyway, so keep an eye on that one. And then the 2U net store, they haven't filed a blueprint, so I may file one. Somehow I got a link to this review, so somebody must have contacted me in IRC. So as far as I know, these are the drivers that have been proposed for Yoga. So just for awareness, they need to get their CIs going, so I'll send an email out. But we just need to make sure that we have time to get all this stuff reviewed. The new driver deadline is a little bit later than milestone 2, just because of the way the holidays fall. But it's in January, so we'll have to have a big push right after the new year to get all these things reviewed. Although if they're ready, like the NFS driver for Dell EMC Power Store, I believe is ready, and I think the CI, there were some CI problems, but I think, well, anyway, take a look at it, start taking a look, and some are in better shape than others, basically. And if you see anything horrible, of course, please flag it so that they know they have to fix it.
So the NEC's driver is inheriting from the Hitachi driver. I haven't seen a similar thing before. Like, does they come under NEC now, both the drivers? Like, it doesn't have any code of its own, but it's just inheriting methods from Hitachi driver, and both are different companies. So I'm not sure. I've seen that before.
I believe with Seagate that's happened. I think there's like we have a driver that basically uses the Seagate driver, even though it's a whole separate company. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if it's a really good idea to do this, but all right, as long as the Hitachi driver's maintained, I guess this one's okay. I don't know, Gorka, you've been around longer than probably anybody here. We don't have a position on this, do we? I mean, I think as long as they're doing the CI on it, I think that's what we want. And so basically the Hitachi driver is going to be getting its extra CI on this.
Yeah, the thing is that if it's a branded thing, then I think, like you say, it's okay because we have CI. So either what can happen is that Hitachi change can break the other driver. Well, then it will be broken. They will have to fix or overwrite a specific method or whatever. But I think we have other cases where drivers inherit from other drivers. Maybe not as drastic as this one, as it has been a wrapper, but it should be fine.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Yeah. So anyway, so that one should be easy to review. But I don't know if they're. Oh, that's the any. Which one is this? I'm just scrolling through to see if their CI is responding yet. All right. I'll send an email to the mailing list just reminding people of the deadline and that I want them to use the blueprints to keep track of what they're working on. So to indicate that the CI is running and where the patches are and that kind of stuff. Okay, and then Pure is going to have a driver for NVMe Rocky. Okay. All right, so we have a lot of driver action. This now, I'm trying to think if for some reason I'm thinking somebody talked about a new backup driver, but maybe not. But anyway, is anyone aware of backup drivers that are being contributed or? Okay. All right, so it may just be the mainline drivers. So the big thing, of course, if you're working on one of these, CI is really important. It's got to check not just your driver, but it should be responding on other patches also. And else in that email, I will include a reminder about please, when you send your comments to Zool, indicate that I think it's auto-generated so that Garrett can classify it separately and stop polluting the comments on the patches. All right, that's it for new drivers. So if you've got one or you know of someone who's working on a driver, let them know, and I will also send an email. Gorka, did you have?
Brian, Yeah, a quick question about the driver inheriting from the Hitachi one.
Okay.
I think they may not have considered the problem with the configuration options. If you have your own driver and you inherit and you have the configuration options starting with Hitachi underscore, that may be crazy for users to
That's a good
actually
point.
know.
Yeah.
Because the fiber channel one, I think Hitachi has some configuration options like Hitachi underscore zoning underscore request, and they don't seem to have one equivalent one for the HPE driver.
Okay. That's a really good observation. Yeah, especially a user is not going to think to look for the Hitachi options.
And they don't, well, it's, if they are inheriting from the Hitachi drivers, when somebody asks the driver to report what are their configuration options, they are going to return the right data. So
Right.
any automated tool will work fine. I think Walter was working in, for example, something so that drivers can be configured in web in some kind of installer. So his tool will work fine because the driver would be reporting the right configuration options. It just would be weird configuration options that start with Hitachi underscore. But I don't know if they should have some mechanisms to actually work around this, you know, have their own configuration options and set the Hitachi ones based on those. I don't know.
Right.
It just seems weird to me.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I'll just slap a comment on there that they need to think about this. We'll do that later. All right. Yeah, so it may be slightly more complicated than they think. And also, I don't think.
Is this the HPE driver you're talking about?
Yeah, the HPE XP Storage FC and iSCSI.
Yeah, it looks like they rewrote all of the config options to rename them basically, and they're assigning those values into the Hitachi values that
Oh, they are.
the classes are based off of. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
And
all
that's sort
this
of
is kind of weird, but
yeah. Oh,
I mean,
right.
if you look
Okay.
in the HPE XP rest.py, you can
Yeah,
see
it's
what
just
they're doing there. It's
yeah.
kind of a mess. A copy paste, an overwriting in a very weird way, but whatever.
Yeah, they really have tied themselves to the Hitachi driver. I don't know. Has HP acquired Hitachi or something? I don't know. I haven't been paying attention.
HPE, when I was working there years and years ago, they have been reselling the Hitachi XP
Oh,
storage platform and rebranding it as
Yeah.
their own. But underneath, it's been that forever, and I guess they just decided to make their own driver and rebranding that so customers would not have to be configuring Hitachi when they own an HPE. I don't know. It's a marketing thing more than anything, I think.
I agree. It's the same device under the covers,
Yep.
even the same code.
well, I guess they have enough of an agreement that they know Hitachi's not going to like redesign it on them or something.
Then I would say that then what their driver is missing is reporting the right configuration options. Because the driver is going to report that the configuration option it requires to be configure are the Hitachi ones and not the HPE ones. They are missing the method to return their options.
Yes. Yep.
And the same format is being copied in the NEC driver as well. Like I see both the patches similar, the HP and the NEC driver one.
Okay. All right, so excitement aplenty. But I guess if there's not a lot of coding done on these, they should have plenty of time to set up the CI. So that's always nice. All right, next item is Alan.
Yeah, hi folks. When I initially wrote the entry in the Etherpad, it was just kind of a, hey, don't forget me. I had posted this spec a couple of weeks back, and at the time, nobody had made a comment on it. Looks like Brian has since reviewed it. It's a spec for removing the need to include a project ID in the endpoint URL. It will be optional, so it'll retain full backward compatibility. But if the project ID does not appear in the URL, well, we'll be getting it from the associated keystone context. I don't know what else to say right now if folks haven't had a chance to go through the spec, but I guess the only other comment is that although I haven't worked on it for a week or so, I actually have the code working. I took inspiration from some work that the Manila folks had done a couple cycles back. And of course, because so much of Manila is based on Cinder code, it was very easy to look at what Manila did to remove the project ID from their URL and quickly find the corresponding Cinder code. So it was pretty straightforward and not that invasive.
Okay, thanks.
But I guess just to repeat, it extends the ability of the API to respond to URLs without a project ID, but it does not change the behavior of any of the API.
Yeah, the main thing I wanted, so the reasons why we're doing this, Alan explains in the spec, so you can read through. The main thing I wanted you to mention was the way the micro version is being handled here.
Oh, sure.
Because it's slightly well, I don't know, I don't want to say non-standard, but it's
well, I can.
Not what you'd expect, possibly. Go ahead.
Yeah, so again, this is how Manila handled it. So there will be a micro version associated with this, I don't even know if I want to call it a feature, but this capability. But the important thing to realize is that unlike most micro versions where you have to specify that micro version or a higher one to get the functionality associated with the feature, in this instance, the purpose of the microversion is only to signal to clients that, hey, as of this microversion, you don't have to include a project ID in your URL. You can if you want to. We will still work just fine, but it's sort of, for informational purposes only. So I gave an example in the spec where basically, 3.67, I think, was the next available microversion. I don't know if it still is or not, but we'll use that as this example. So if a client is accessing a Cinder API endpoint that supports this 3.67, regardless of what microversion they specify in their request, they don't have to include a project ID. So for example, say they're trying to specify microversion 3.56 in their request, they don't have to put a project ID in, even though 3.56 is less than the 6.7 associated with the feature. Likewise, let's say that there's a 3.68 feature added in Yoka. You can specify 3.68 and include a project ID. In other words, we won't preclude you from including a project ID in the URL. So I tried again to cover that in the spec. If the wording is unclear, obviously, let us know in the review. But that's basically the intent of the microversion. It's just sort of like to inform clients whether or not they need to include the project ID.
Yeah, thanks. No, I thought it was explained clearly, but I think not everybody's going to read the spec, so I want people to just understand generally how the
Sure.
how this is working and what our intention is.
Well, maybe to that end, I'll add just a couple of other comments for folks that may not read the spec. Why are we doing this? Two main reasons, or one main one and one medium one. The main one is that with the whole evolution of the secure RBAC, there are notions of system-scoped APIs that are intended to influence system at a system level, for which there really is no associated project ID. So for example, if you're configuring a volume type, well, volume types don't have an associated project ID, so why do I have to put one in the API endpoint? That's probably the main motivation for all of this. It will remove the need for people with a system-scoped set of authorizations for dummying up a project ID just so that they have one. Another consideration that's perhaps not quite so major, but is definitely worth noting, is that as far as I know, if not all, then virtually all of the other OpenStack services have removed the need for a project ID in their endpoints. So this basically will bring Cinder in line with all of the other common OpenStack projects, Nova, Manila, Keystone. So that's why we're doing this, or that's why I'd like to do it.
Thanks, Alan.
Yeah, that's a good summary. Okay, cool. So anyway, please, despite what I said, please read the spec and leave comments and reviews. I think it's good. All right.
And I hope to get the it'll still be flagged as WIP, but patch up so that people can get a handle on the scope of the code changes associated with this. I hope to get that up real soon.
All right, thanks. Okay, Felipe, generic NFS online extend bug.
Hi, folks. I'm bringing this up. It's a pretty old bug. It's more than a year ago. We had this issue that generic NFS online extend is not working, and we provide a partial fix. So the fix is not like actually a fix, more like a workaround. We disallow this feature. So NFS driver is no more online extending volumes. But now one of our customers, they are requesting this feature. So we want to fix this right now. So I'm bringing this back to the discussion, and I will start trying to fix this and merge a final fix for this bug. Actually, I was not part of this team when the bug came and the concerns as well. So I am just reading some documentation, and I see that we have a bug, a fix on upstream. So I just rebase this and remove the part that was not allowing online extend. So I rebase this patch, and I will start work on this patch. This patch from Lucio is no more work on Cinder project. And there are some concerns, and I'd like to know how much important they are and if they still make sense now, 1 year after this. I reproduced the bug, so the bug still occurs, and the patch from Lucio is fixing the problem. But there are some concerns. That's, I think, the point that this patch is not merged yet. So there's a etherpad here fixing FS1 extend. And we need to see, we need some people to look on this and review and see if it makes sense for us right now to this NFS driver.
Okay, thanks. You know, it might really help if you could identify the concerns that aren't being addressed or that you're not sure whether they're important or not, and then put a topic on the Etherpad for the mid-cycle next week, so that we can go through it. Because yeah, it's been a while since I looked at this.
Yeah, I've tested some of them.
Yeah, but that'd be great. So we know it's coming, and we can start looking. But yeah, if you can, it makes it a lot easier for us to review if you can, you know, sort of organize it so that, hey, these are the things I don't want to do. Do we still need to worry about them? And then we can focus on that.
There's one of the concerns that Felipe raises in the Etherpad that I think it's important. It's about the attaching, the extending when it's attached to a shadow of VM and how it doesn't actually work in that case. That seems kind of a big concern, right? If there is still a case where it will not work.
Yeah. Yeah, like we have the when the VM is shut down, we cannot extend because we are relying on the Nova servers, so we cannot extend. And we have some problems like if some errors occur on the Nova side, we cannot identify this problem. And also we cannot test encrypted volumes because there is an issue, open issue with NFS encrypted volumes. So I don't want this kind of bug blocked by a node problem. I don't know if we need to test like with the encrypted volumes, since the encrypted volume is not working yet. So there's a bug blocking this bug. And
yeah, but for the encryption, it's easier to check on Cinder because it has the right information to say, oh, you're trying to do an online extend on NFS on an encrypted. That one is not supported, right? And it can fail directly on the Cinder side. The problem with the other one is that we don't know the status of the VM, which, like you write here, how should we check if that condition is happening when the request comes in? You know, the other one, I'm not too much concerned. We can just fail, and we document in what cases the extend work or not, and we can fail gracefully. But on this other one, we would probably need to check with Nova, make a Nova call, right? And I think it's a bit, well, yeah. I was going to say that I think it's a bit dirty that the driver has to call Nova directly, but this is NFS and it already has a bunch of calls to Nova because it's kind of different. So yeah, no complaints on that. I think we should just call or find a way to query Nova for the status of the VM, and based on that, fail on the Cinder side or not. Do you think that's reasonable, Felipe?
Yeah, I think so. I just need to find out how do this on the Cinder to the Nova, but it makes sense. We pull the Nova, we know the status, and we can see if we can extend or not, and we can gracefully deny this operation in this kind of condition. Yeah, that makes no sense.
Okay, you should be able to get the instance ID checking the volume attachments because Nova should be doing attachments using the new attach API and volume dot attachments should be there, and you can check in there, if I remember correctly, the instance ID, and with that you can query Nova, see the status.
Yeah, I got it.
But I think some similar changes are still needed to handle multi-attach. Because I think the patch as it stands right now won't work if you have multi-attach volumes, right?
For sure.
So we have to add a check to fail in that case. And I'll catch up on, it's been a while since I looked at the encryption parts of this, but I'll review some of that side and come back up to speed to review the stuff related to encryption there.
Nice. So I will test those points and add some like conditions and update a new patch so we can like provide the solution a partial online extend that just work in a specific scenario, and then you add this condition so we can bring this topic back again. Thank you.
Okay, just one question. So in case of like if the VM is shut off, then we are probably going to use Camel image instead of like relying to Nova to do the extend, right?
In that situation, how does Nova get updated with the new size?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't like look at the entire code yet, but I believe that there was a solution for extended attached before, right? Or like a extended attached, sorry, for extended volumes wasn't supported in the past. And yeah, I don't.
I think the point of Fernando is if the VM is shut down, we can use the lock. The main problem is that we have a lock from the Nova. So if the Nova is shutting down, we can do in the Cinder side the extension. But the problem is how can we, when the VM comes back, we can, I don't know if automatically it goes there and say, okay, now I have more space on my volume. I don't think so. We need to warn the Nova source, right?
Yeah, that's what I was getting at, because even if the VM is shelved or shut off, I think there might be block device mapping info that's persisted that would need to be updated. I'm not totally sure if that's the case, but I think that might be the case. Yeah. So then even if you can manipulate the file and extend it, I don't know that anything is going to update that information in Nova, which probably needs to happen.
Yeah, it would be easier if we just support the simple case. I think that could fix our customer case. I think so. So just extending online volumes that's attached to the up VMs. I think that's a good scenario for having now, at least now, as the first solution.
Yeah, I'm looking at the code, but yeah, I will need some time to check for this specific condition. No, yeah, I was just yeah, Philip already said, but I was just considering that probably NFS already have. If I remember correctly, the point was exactly that we use Chemo image to resize. We used to have like Chemo image resizing the extending the file directly through Cinder. And problem was that with the VM attached, the VM up, libvirt had a lock that prevents the Kimu to complete the operation, if I remember correctly. So yeah, we should have a way to extend it like without. Yeah, I was thinking that maybe like just changing the size of the file and rebooting the VM might uh, be enough. But you are saying that there should like a metadata to update or something like that, right? Right, Eric?
I think it's possible. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I'm not
I'm not
sure.
sure as well. Yeah.
I'm not sure what all Nova persists about volume when it's in that state, but it's something to look at.
Okay, yeah. We will take a look. Um, yeah, I can check with you, Felipe, and we can check for this option as well. Maybe it would be have good to have like both cases, um, because like I believe this is a possible situation, like someone like to turn off the VM and try extend. It's really possible. So, but yeah, but let me try to find something, a solution.
All right,
Nice.
great.
Thank you.
Yeah, take a look and we can talk about it next week, see what you come up with. Walt, I think, had to run, so here's his topic. He's been working on we've talked about this one before, right, to make the backup process asynchronous, because when you're backing up a really large volume, we want, you don't want to keep it locked. So anyway, please take a look at that review. He said he's been running it in production for the last 9 months, so I guess the bugs have been shaken out, so it should be in good shape. So review request for people who have some review time. And then Simon's got another review request. So one of our priorities for this cycle is enhancing NVMe in OS Brick, and that's what this is about. So
yeah, if we could just get people to get their eyes on it. I've put a topic on for next week for the mid-cycle, just to go over it, and the people who are doing the specs and the code give us an update. If some people could just get their eyes on the spec, that'd be good.
Great. Yeah, so if we can get a look at the spec first, we'll be more prepared for to have a better and more productive session at the mid-cycle. All right. We are at 5 minutes left. Let's open it up for general discussion. Anybody have any points they want to make? All right. Since we're sort of all here, I don't feel like I have to wait in IRC for a response. Okay. Thanks for attending the meeting. Don't forget, mid-cycle next week, 1400 UTC on Wednesday, same place, and should be exciting. Lots of stuff showing up on the topics. Okay, and hopefully by then we'll know for sure how the community goal is going to go. And we got lots of other stuff. Any last comments? Right. So if you're redoing a bug squad today, or just the email, or do you want to postpone it?
As you
I know you've been
wish.
busy.
I'm mute. No, I'm not. Hey. I have only one bug for today's, but it's just to heads up because Gorka already proposed a fix
Oh,
to it. So that's the only thing. If you want to, I can share the link in the
It's the
REC.
multipath one?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Helen mentioned to me the other day that there seems to be, for example, for backups, we don't do multipathing when attaching the volumes to back them up or to restore. Well, depending on the driver, we do it or we don't. If the driver returns the connection information based on the multipath field in the connector property. So if it says, when we call OS break and you tell, give me connector information, you can tell it, I want multipathing. And then this use multipath value is set in the connector properties. And this is sent to the driver to get the connection information. Some drivers always do multipathing, so they don't care what the user wants. They just export everywhere. But others only do one export based on that requirement. So for those drivers that work that way, backup was not doing multipathing because the connector information call was being made without parameters. So multipathing was assumed to be false. And this apparently happens in a couple of places. So I propose a patch that makes sure that any code in Cinder that that makes the get connector properties call to OS break passes the parameters that are configured in Cinder. It's nothing complicated. It basically adding 2 parameters to a call, and that's it. But there were a couple of places, kind of like the Caminario driver, backup, create and restore, and I think somewhere else. So I instead of having 3 or 4 different patches, I just wrote one and fixed everything because it's the same thing in multiple places.
Great. All right, that sounds good. Thanks, Gorka. All right, and thanks, Sophie. All right, so that's it for today. If you have vacation for the rest of the week, enjoy it. If you don't, please be productive and plenty of stuff to review if you're so inclined. And I will stop recording.